Rangers fans, welcome to season 4 of Liberty Blue, sponsored by Believe Network. This is the Essential New York Rangers podcast. I am Andrew Chelney. That's Nick Zararis, and Nick. It's the Rangers are never going to score at home. Forget about winning. Forget about having it be close. The Rangers are never scoring a goal at MSG ever. The Knicks will never lose at MSG, and the Rangers will never win. This is the law of the Garden. This is the way that it is. We just have to accept it.
You take that deal? I mean, you get to the end of Inglourious Bastards and Brad, you take that? Yeah, I'll take that deal. If it means the Knicks are going to go 35-7 on 35-6 at MSG, I think I'll take that deal. It's probably not great for the Rangers, but I had said that last year when the Rangers were really going through it in the lulls of January. I said, if this means the Knicks go on a nice run, I'll take that trade-off. You get to this point in your life, you get to your late 20s, you start to understand where your teams are in the pecking order. As a Knicks, Mets, Rangers fan, I can assume only one of those teams is capable of being good at the same time. And maybe that's a bit of a defeatist attitude. Maybe that's a bit of a disappointing attitude. But I know what I'm getting from these teams. The Rangers will come agonizingly close. The Knicks will be there, but do they have the talent to beat the teams they're going to be along the way? And the Mets, once every 5 years, put together a really good season. But I'm under no illusions of what's going on here. We've diagnosed the Rangers' problem from July. Who is going to score the goals on this team? And the answer is Taylor Radish, which I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Taylor Radish is not a top 6 forward in the NHL in 2025. Connor Sheary is not a top 6 forward in the NHL in 2025. It remains to be seen if Will Cooley is a top 6 forward in the NHL in 2025. When you cannot score, that puts everything else under a microscope. And the Rangers in the last decade, in the 2010s, were a team that got by on really good goaltending and situational goal scoring. And it is always going to be harder to win a hockey game 1-0, 2-1 than it is to win one 5-4, 6-5. And they can't even do that because they can't score 5 or 6 goals. But you look at the way they are playing, and you said it very well before we started recording, both in the Carolina and the Islander game. They get off to really good starts. They are controlling the zone. They're forechecking aggressively. They're putting a ton of pressure on the other team. And then you make one mistake. One mistake derails everything. And this is a fragile group. It is not insulting or demonstrative to say this is a soft group. We know that when things go bad,
though, Nick. That's what the shirts say.
He broke his stick. He's got to throw his helmet next, and we're going to make some progress. And that's the thing,
if
man.
He does that. He has to take 3 penalties though in that same game,
and he has to lose to whoever's the worst team in the NHL.
Right.
Who's the worst team in the NHL right now?
Take your pick. There's a few of them right now.
Yeah, you're very right. But on that thought, and before I throw it over to you, this team is what it is. Help is not on the way. Sure, Gabe Perreault got called up. Who's he playing with? Because is he going to take Connor Sheary's spot? Is he going to take Taylor Radish's spot?
Should be taking Connor Sheary's spot. Connor Sheary, by the way, has 0 goals this season.
Yeah.
Connor
Sheary's not a top 6 player. He's barely an NHLer.
Well, he was on a PTO.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, he's I don't know 6'4". But okay, even if you are putting him in the top 6 as just somebody to be there for now, surely you try someone else after weeks of him not scoring a goal, right? And the thing about Connor Sheary too is that it's not that he's been playing badly. He's, especially in the offensive zone, he's very good at getting into the corners and winning those battles and sustaining puck possession for the Rangers. He's been doing good things, and I'm not here to talk down on that. Those aspects of the game he's still very good at. The problem is that he's playing top 6 minutes, and by the way, the top 6 is expected to score goals, and Connor Sheary in every game this season has scored 0 goals. So something's got to change in that regard when it comes to that number has to change. There's just no ifs. No matter how good he is at controlling the puck in the offensive zone, if you don't score, okay, you won the expected battles. You're the Carolina Hurricanes, where you keep the puck in the zone the entire time, but then you end up losing the playoffs because you can't score. At a certain point, you have to do something different, and hopefully Gabriel Perreault slides into that spot, at least for now, just to see what would happen. Just to see what happens. Maybe Gabe Perreault slides into that spot. Connor Sheary goes down. You you take out Schmelash and you put in somebody else, or if you take out whomsoever you want on that fourth line, and just see what happens. If Gabriel Perreault struggles or doesn't play well, okay, well then you reassess. But maybe
And you have an answer. That's the thing. You have an answer.
Well, that's the whole point. Like, we go back to this all the time, Nick. It's oh, why play somebody that is bad, that's old, that you can play, instead of playing somebody young who might be bad. Like, you might as well find out what you have in that player, as opposed to playing somebody that has, to this point, has given you ample evidence to suggest they cannot produce offense for you. They have 0 goals on the board. So, I said this before we started recording. Like, that game against the Islanders and the Minnesota game were pretty much the same. Or no, the game against Carolina. The last 2 home games were exactly the same game, where the Rangers dominated the puck. They were in the offensive zone for the first 10 minutes of the game. It was all Rangers, all in the offensive zone. They were sustaining pressure. They were generating a lot of chances, and they made one mistake. It goes in the back of their net, and the game is over. The Rangers couldn't do anything after that. They couldn't generate any offense. It was a whole lot of breakdowns. It was a whole lot of pinching at inopportune times to force offense. And when that doesn't happen, they get the puck the other way on a 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and they get scored on. Those 2 home games were the exact same. And at a certain point, I mean, they're playing Nashville at home tonight, which the Nashville Predators are not a good team.
Terrible.
And if you not... Again, like, losing is one thing. If you can't generate offense, if you cannot score a goal against the Nashville Predators at home, we got to move MSG, because this has been built on a burial ground or something. Like, we got to do something here.
And the curious part of this conversation is they are not playing bad when it comes to mechanics. They are doing largely what they're supposed to. They are controlling games. They are top 5 in high danger chances in terms of share of them, and they are top 5 in high danger chances the rate they create them. That alone tells you that something here is working. The problem, of course, and we have pinned this to a T, they don't have finishing talent. And when you don't have finishers, and you have a lot of playmakers, you have a lot of distributors, and you have a whole lot of grinders, your options to actually put the puck in the net become a lot more limited. It's not that they are bad. The Rangers are not a poor team in terms of the talent they have. There is enough raw talent here that they should be able to get by when they are having rough stretches. And that's not a particularly encouraging endorsement. They can hang around. They're not bad. But Zibanejad's not going to shoot 2% all year. Will Cooley will score a goal at 5-on-5 at some point this year. But with 2 of your top 6 guys not doing their jobs, with Panarin not shooting enough, not scoring enough, just not creating enough, with Miller still obviously not 100%, and his game isn't as much raw chance creation as it is effort, positioning, that type of thing. When you have a top 6 where basically nobody's performing up to their standard or their expectations, it's impossible. I mean, this is the same conversation we have about a bunch of teams across the league. We talk about this in regards to Edmonton, where if McDavid and Draisaitl can't score, what's the rest of that lineup supposed to do? When Kadri doesn't score for Calgary, who scores their goals? That's the boat the Rangers are in right now, where their top 6 is not going at all. They're playing okay defense, but the minute they get down 2-0, they need to start being more aggressive defensively, because it is such a struggle to create offense that they're naturally going to give it back going the other way. And as much as people want to complain about the goaltending, the Rangers have the 3rd best 5-on-5 save percentage in the entire NHL right now. Yeah, the penalty kill could be a little bit better. Yeah, Shesterkin's got to not get killed on all these 2-on-1s, but at the same time, those are the chances that are most likely to go in. They are, by definition, the most valuable. When you have odd man rushes, when you have 2-on-1s, and you can create conflict by making the defender and the goalie move, there's a reason those are the chances that are the most valuable, and those are the chances that teams are going to cheat to try and create. And you saw both in the Carolina and in the Islander game, where as soon as Carolina and the Islanders saw how desperate it was, that it was 2-0 and they were going to have a hard time, their forecheck dialed it up 1,000 because the Rangers start flying the zone a little early, trying to cheat for that long pass to save time. And Carolina is probably the best forechecking team in the NHL. They're just going to jump in front of those long stretch passes. They're going to cut your angles off. They're going to force you to work twice as hard just to get to offense. And if it takes you 45 seconds to a minute and a half just to break out, well, you got to get to the red line. You got to dump it down. You got to change. And by the time you get your new guys on, Carolina's coming back the other way. Carolina is the type of team that is more than content to get into those types of games because that's their strong suit. If you are in a tight checking, low scoring game against Carolina, that's where they want to be because Carolina, in terms of mentality and effort, will outwork you. And that was a Carolina team missing 3 of its 6 regular defensemen, and the Rangers couldn't get anything going offensively. That and Carolina's
Miller, who wanted to be there for the return, but he wasn't. But he was in the building. I did see him after the game in the locker rooms. But he wanted to play. He wasn't there. This is a Carolina Hurricanes team that was, by all intents and purposes, like this was not really their best roster, not really their best.
I mean, on Saturday night, their goaltending, I think, had like a 400 save percentage after the first period. I want to say Freddie Anderson gave up 3 goals on 5 shots, something ridiculous like that. Carolina's not exactly world beaters, especially in the state they're in.
Chekhov's first game of the season.
Yeah.
And you give them a shutout, and then, and the Islanders, who haven't really been playing well either.
They just score a lot. They can't defend at all. The Islanders score a lot.
Their blue line is Whomst. It's
just
Schaefer and Whomst else. And you score 0 goals against that defense with Tony DeAngelo smiling on the blue line as he gets booed from the fans. And Ilya Sorokin, who hasn't had that great of a season to start, is getting a shutout. It doesn't make any sense how every goalie, no matter who it is, I guess besides Whomst ever's in net for San Jose, is coming into MSG and looking like it's like their prime Dominik Hasek. It doesn't, like, these things can't feasibly continue. It just can't. There's gotta be ways to generate offense in such a way that doesn't make every goaltender that comes into this building look like Eddie Giacomin. It just cannot happen.
It's befuddling because I said it before and I'll say it again. This is a team that is creating reasonably dangerous offense. The problem is they don't have guys capable of converting those. And of course, Arthur Staple had said this last week, and this is something the analytics community is well aware of. We can't quantify shooting talent yet. We still don't have a way to determine but anecdotally, you understand there's a difference between Panarin taking a high danger shot versus Connor Sheary taking a high danger shot. And that's kind of the sliding scale you need to operate from, because while, yes, the Rangers are competing at a reasonable level, they are creating dangerous offense, they are not playing a ton of defense, that doesn't really matter if you don't have the opportunity to convert. There are plenty of teams every year in the NFL that are really good in between the 20s, where they can move the ball up and down the field reasonably well. But as soon as they get to the red zone, they don't have the capacity to punch it in. They don't have the tight end who can stay in the block or go out for a pass. They don't have the great pass catching running back. They don't have a quarterback who can dance around in the pocket and buy time. And that's where the Rangers are at right now. They do a lot of the mechanics of this right. But the problem becomes, as soon as they are behind, it becomes an issue. They do not have the capacity to score multiple goals in a row against anyone, not just against anyone. And that was a problem under Peter Laviolette, under Gerard Gallant, under David Quinn, under Alain Vigneault, under John Tortorella. The Rangers have never had the greatest of finishing talent. They have always required, or relied on, I should say, their roster being greater than the sum of its parts.
Like a talent by committee type of roster.
That's always been the Rangers' MO, and it's romantic. It's a really charming way to look at it. We all love the stories of the 4th and 3rd liners who all have their signature moments. That's one of the hallmarks of a good team, is that everybody on that team is going to have a moment or two over the course of a long season and a long playoff run. But right now, realistically, the Rangers are icing 2 fourth lines in the bottom 6. Their second line is probably a bit more of a third line, and their first line is a bit more of a second line. If you could drop a legitimate first line onto this team, okay, we'd be cooking with grease if you could drop 2 point per game players in front of the group they currently have. But you look at where the market is, you look at the players who aren't going to be available, and the trade market that is going to be even slower to develop this year because of how bad or mediocre everyone's been out of the gate. other than Gabriel Perreault, who I can't realistically expect a lot from because he is going to be learning on the fly, help is not coming, at least until January or February. And that's if teams are willing to admit or concede, by end of January, early February, that it's over. Because this group does not have the goods. It just doesn't. There's talent here. There are good players here. The pieces don't really fit particularly well together. They don't really have the types of players to play the way Mike Sullivan would like them to. He is doing a reasonable job with what he has, but if JT Miller's going to finish the year with 50 points, if Zibanejad's going to finish the year with 43 points, Panarin's going to have 60 points, this team's going to score 150 goals in 82 games, and it's going to be a really boring season.
There's no one player that the Rangers can feasibly acquire. Yeah, if you want to turn on NHL 26 and try your luck at creating some bozo fake, trade scenario and go, oh my God, wait, this works because the machine said it would. I guess you could go do that. But, in reality, and also, the Druid doesn't have too many things at his possession to be able to trade. Like,
Nope.
Players like Othman that might have had a little bit of trade value in the summer is now close to zero because he's getting sent down again. And when he gets called back up, he's not playing well. This is kind of his last shot, I would think, as a member of the Rangers organization. Like, his trade value is low. Lafreniere's trade value is low. If you wanted to get rid of him, his trade value has never been lower because he just is not performing to, one, his contract, but two, to the standard that he set himself as a first overall pick. Okay, so his trade value is low. Even if you could get rid of Mika Zibanejad's contract, even if you wanted to do that, okay, well, his trade value has never been lower because of what's going on with the team. Okay, so you can't do that. Maybe you can try to get a Panarin trade going, but you're never going to acquire somebody that is as good as Panarin now. Like, no, first of all, no one's giving up a Panarin-like player now. And even if you want to do it at the deadline, it's got to be a 3-team trade, because then you would trade Panarin to a team that would want him, and then also in return you're not getting Panarin, so you use the assets that you got from Panarin to then trade for somebody who could hopefully be Panarin. There is nothing here for the Rangers to improve that will drastically alter the course of how they score offense. There's no Kaprizov's not coming, McDavid's not coming, Eichel's not coming. Everybody, like all the top players that the Rangers were essentially hoping for to hit free agency, have all resigned. And that's what Nick and I have been talking about this entire offseason, is you cannot rely on outside factors to go in your favor. If you want those guys, you got to go out there and trade for those guys. Everybody that we've been talking about, the Rangers have been, rumored to be involved in, they all go new contracts. So it's either you fix the team with trades or you just kind of let this ride. There's no big time move right now that is going to drastically change the course of this roster.
Nope. And there isn't an obvious solution here. And that's what makes this both interesting as far as just a thought exercise and concerning as a fan of this team, that it looks like we're going to punt another year of Shesterkin and Fox in their primes, because last year was the year to take it on the chin. Last year was the year to say, okay, we don't have any more cards to play. You take it on the chin, you keep your extra picks, you try and either trade up in the draft if there's someone you really like, or you use those picks to go and get something. And that's up to you. It's your decision what you want to do. But we know this group does not have the requisite talent to be a serious team. Can they hang around? They'll be on the bubble. Yeah, with how bad the East is, I wouldn't be surprised if they hang around for a good chunk of the season. But last year was the year, with how weak the East was, with the circumstances of how, okay, we're going to fire the coach, we're going to get rid of Trouba, we're going to get rid of Kreider. We want to remake this team. And that was something Arthur Staple had really made a point of pointing out as far as getting rid of Kreider, Trouba, Gaudreau last year, was Connor Sheary wanted to move on. He wanted to remake this team. And he tried to do it all at once as opposed to waiting for pieces to come together. And they have a very mediocre roster. It's not bad, but it's not particularly good. The notable players are very short, and even the notable players are kind of underperforming right now. So I do think Mike Sullivan is a good hockey coach. I don't think that's the question here. They are
No.
playing
This is like Mike Sullivan has the system in place, and they just are playing well off the system. Mike Sullivan is like he can't lace him up and score himself. That's kind of the thing. Is like at a certain point, the system is clearly working. The guys on the ice are not able to score goals. That like that's as much as people around the sports sphere want to put a blame on one specific thing. Mike Sullivan here, this is not his fault. It really isn't. Like this has nothing to do with Mike Sullivan. This is really, oh boy, like everybody's shooting percentage at MSG, if you're wearing a Rangers jersey, is so low that scientists are trying to figure out how low that number could possibly get. Like this is insane. So yeah, Mike Sullivan's not gonna go out there and take the controller away and start scoring himself. He can't do that.
And I do think a lot of this is tied to this group's confidence. And I have been that is probably the single thing I have been the harshest critic of when it comes to this group is they are very much a fair weather group. They go in the direction that the vibe is going. When things are great, everybody's riding high, everyone's making crazy plays, everyone's playing well. But when they're bad, and I wouldn't say it's that bad yet, it's very easy to watch this group become unraveled. And you lose the way you did to both Carolina and the Islanders, where at 2-0, it feels like the game is over. And then for good measure, you lose by 5. It really puts an emphasis that there is no one here that has the capacity to take the reins and say, okay, we're in the shit right now. Someone has to do something. I will do it. Instead, you get a lot of sulking, you get a lot of sighing, you get sticks being broken. All of that stuff is nice. All of that shows me that you care, that you understand that this isn't acceptable.
Right.
But if we're just going to do this for the next 65, 70 regular season games, that's what we did last year. And I wanted to read something. I bookmarked it on Twitter earlier. And this is about the Maple Leafs. This isn't about the Rangers, but that's also a team that is dealing with a bit of an identity crisis, that is trying to be something, but doesn't know how it wants to get there. So the Leafs keep making moves in line with a team aspiring to be physical, hard, big, and tough to play against. The problem is they haven't actually accomplished any of that besides being big, besides trying hard. They are cosplaying as an effort team, and they don't have the talent to be an effort and work rate team. And that gets back to something we talked about last week with Arthur Staple, the idea that Chris Drury looked at the group and said, it's not the type of team I want. I want to prioritize hard-nosed, straight-line players. I don't want Artemi Panarins and Mika Zibanejads. I want JT Miller. I want Vincent Trocheck. I want Taylor Radish. I want Adam Edstrom. I want Juuso Parssinen. I want straight-line, low-ceiling, high-floor guys to play dump and chase, grind-it-out hockey to outwork our opponents. Because in Chris Drury's mind, and yes, I am speaking for him, but based on the way he's assembled the roster, this is my supposition, he doesn't think the skill group that was here was good enough. He doesn't think the Zibanejad group, and the evidence of the last 3-4 years would show you it wasn't. And I can understand how you get to that conclusion that they don't have the dogs, they don't have the grit. But at the same time, you do also need guys who can score the goals. And it needs to be both. It can't just be we're going to be a skill team. It can't just be we're going to be a grit team. Ideally, and the Panthers have successfully executed this, your star players are also miserable to play against. Your star players are fully bought into the idea that we need to play this type of hockey. And that brings the best out of Sam Bennett, out of Matthew Tkachuk, out of Sasha Barkov, out of Sam Reinhart. And the guys he has, whether that's Panarin or Zibanejad or Lafreniere, don't subscribe to that. So as much as he thinks that JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck, who it does seem like Trocheck is going to play tonight. He practiced as we're recording this, but as much as those guys are good hockey players, and that's not to say they're not. Miller has had a 100-point season. Trocheck's been close to a point per game player. they don't have that next gear. They don't have the I can make something happen for everyone around me. And Panarin doesn't have that personality of, okay, I'm going to put the team on my back and make this happen. Neither does Zibanejad, neither does Lafreniere. And you've got an entire team of passengers and work rate guys. And they're never going to be awful, but this team does not have a very high ceiling based on the roster they have. They'll be okay, but they are going to be extremely limited.
The point of a lot of make or break seasons for teams like the Rangers, but also other ones, is what happens when your back is to the wall. What and you there's two paths here. Whether you go down the path that the Rangers are currently going down of, oh, we're just not going to score a goal at MSG ever, or there's been a lot of teams throughout the years that have had multiple injuries and somehow continue to win hockey games, or at least keep them close, or at least even by names on the back of their jerseys that you might not expect to have 2-goal games, or a goal and an assist type of game or something like that. But there have been a bunch of examples throughout the years of teams that have been able to accomplish that. And with the Rangers, yeah, they're missing Trocheck, and that they've missed Trocheck for essentially the entire season. And yeah, it's not easy to generate offense without Trocheck versus with Trocheck, right? Obviously, it's easier when he's in lineup, but Zibanejad's still here, Miller's still here, Panarin's still here, Lafreniere is still here, Fox is still here. You should be having enough at least in the top echelon of your roster to generate a goal at home. Again, it's at this point, this is small steps. Like, forget about a win. We score a goal. Can you get the goal horn on? And I talked about it with Shesterkin after the Hurricanes game. I asked, in the moment when you're hearing boos coming down from the fans, like, what are you thinking about? And he said, like, we owe the fans goals, we owe the fans wins, we owe them. Okay, and that's great sentiment from your goalie.
He can't score them.
He can't score. Like, it. No matter, people have to understand this too. No matter how good Shesterkin was or bad in the game against the Islanders, if you want either you want to argue, it doesn't matter. If you want to call him the greatest goalie of all time after Saturday, if you want to call him the worst goalie of all time, regardless, the New York Rangers scored 0 goals. You could put Hasek in there, Waugh in there. You could put Eddie Belfour. Like, it doesn't matter who you
could put a brick wall in there.
Yeah, Ole Kolzig. You could put in your dad. You could put in your brother. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing in goal. Your team scored 0 goals. Therefore, in any situation, your team will lose the game. It's as simple as that. And I liked Shesterkin's answer to my question, and it's a good mindset. But he can't score goals. Like, not for lack of effort. He's been trying when there's empty nets. My God, is he trying? But he can't play forward. His forwards got to go play forward and contribute to offense. And regardless of what happens in net for the Rangers, if they cannot score a single goal, you will never win a game. That's how hockey works.
There might be a conversation to be had a few weeks from now if the Rangers being so committed to defense is kind of tanking their offensive creation and their ability to finish. That's definitely something we can address down the road, the bigger the sample gets. But 15 games that's not an insignificant portion of your season. That's almost a fourth of your season played. And right now they're playing pretty good defense. They're not scoring. The power play is an atrocity. The penalty kill is average-ish, but you keep waiting for the light bulb to go on, if you will, the eureka moment. And one of the scary things about being an adult to some degree is that help's not coming. At a certain point, you need to take that individual personal responsibility and say, these are our circumstances. I have to do something. I need to take some responsibility and I need to do something. It's not enough to just identify the problem. It's not enough to call the problem. Unless you continue to work with actionable steps to get where you want to go, You can say whatever you want as far as your goals, your ambitions, but unless you're actually filling out those job applications because you hate your job, or you're applying for grad school because you want to change the direction your life's going in, or you want to take a risk and start a business, whatever it is, as far as actually taking the leap, you have to do something. 15 games in now, the Rangers have not shown the capacity to really change a lot. The defense has gotten pretty consistently
Better.
good. The defense has
It's been a
gotten pretty
180
good.
since last season, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
The defense has given them something to build off of. But beyond that, there isn't progress being made. And maybe Trocheck coming back sparks it. Maybe Perreault getting in the lineup and playing 11, 12 minutes a night for 2 or 3 weeks gets somebody going. But as we saw with Miller, as we saw with Panarin, I expect Trocheck to need a good 2-3 weeks to get up to game speed because he hasn't played hockey in a month. And no matter how good of shape you might be doing your conditioning or your practicing, you're not in game shape. The feel of a game is different from those two. And it's going to take him a little while to get going. Hell, it is November, and JT Miller still isn't really playing all of that well because he didn't have a proper training camp, a proper build up, a proper build up to the season to get his body right. And maybe this is just what it is for the season for Miller, for Panarin. And if that's the case, we can turn the calendar. We can sim to the end of the season, because if JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck and Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad and Alexis Lafreniere, if your 6 best forwards, all they can do is 1 goal per home game, and they struggle to score more than 3 with any real frequency, there's no point. No matter how good the defense is, and to your point, no matter how good the goaltending is, you can't win 0-0. It's just not doable. It's not conducive. And it would be one thing if they were getting these games to overtime, if they were accumulating loser points. They are losing these games on the margins. And logic would tell you that when you consistently lose on the margins, when you're losing close over and over again, eventually that luck's going to change. Eventually it'll start to go your way. Eventually you'll start to get some breaks. But as we saw last year, when everybody is so weather vane where they go based on what's happening around them, if everybody is on edge, if every single player is feeling that pressure, feeling that burden, feeling that responsibility to produce, and it is so overwhelming, it is so crushing that they continue to play like this, they continue to struggle, there isn't somebody here who is going to grab the wheel and get control of this group. The defense gives them a high floor, but until the puck starts going in the net, it doesn't matter how good of the defense is you play. And that's why I think getting so caught up in the, well, we're trying really hard, all of that stuff is nice. It's window dressing. It makes everyone feel good. You know, I'm sure Chris Drury likes the way they're playing, that he likes that Noah Laba is emerging as one of the types of guys he likes. That's all great. But if you're not making progress, if we are just burning a year of everybody in their late 20s or early 30s, we're not accomplishing anything. And it's one thing to say, well, the goal wasn't to win the cup this year. That's fine. I agree with you. They still don't know what they want to be yet.
Right.
Are they going to be a version of the Hurricanes? Are they going to be a cycle, grit, puck control, good defensive team? Or are they going to find that next gear? Can they start creating off the rush? Can they live in transition a little bit more? What does that do to their defense? If they start to play in transition more, is that going to mean conceding more defensively? Are they willing to make that trade-off? There are a lot of philosophical questions that still need to be answered. And a month in, you're not exactly who you are yet. There's still time. You know, last year around this time, we were feeling actually kind of good about the Rangers, and that unraveled almost as catastrophically right around this time. 12, 13 games into the season last year is when it fell apart. They were 10-1-1, something like that, through the first 12 games, and it entirely fell apart. So maybe that heat check's around the corner. Maybe the offense starts to come, but that's just hoping for your luck to change. That's not materially changing your environment or your circumstances. And short of trading for a guy or Perreault popping upon being called up, there isn't anything here other than what's here. It is incumbent upon the guys who are here to answer this bell.
And the thing too, it'd be really funny, by the way, because they play Nashville at home tonight, and they go on the road for 2 games, and they play Detroit, and then they go on the road for 3 games. It'd be really funny if Nashville was the first team that they could beat at home, and then they lose the next 2 on the road, and then they beat Detroit, and then lose the next 3 on the road. I mean, like, you know, I obviously I don't want that to happen. It would just be really funny if now all of a sudden, oh, you want to win at home? All right, here's my trap card. I'll play this instead. Like that, it'd be really funny if that happened. But this is a team that it's such a. I mean, we throw out the Jekyll and Hyde idea a little from time to time, but this is truly been such a Jekyll and Hyde team. Like, how are you 7-1-1 on the road, and offense is coming naturally to you? You're those expected goals that expected by whom you are supposed to go in at home. They're all going in on the road, but for some reason you come home and it's as if there's a force field around the net. Like I don't know. It's very strange to see what's going on, and you would think by the rules of mathematics that eventually things are going to stop being as insane as they have been, right? Like this is an anomaly. If you saw this type of pattern at the casino, you'd be putting a lot of money on the next draw because you're in your head you're going, there's no way this pattern can continue. So I agree. I do think that there is some kind of shift coming, whether that's tonight, maybe that's next Sunday, who knows? But Nashville's not a good team, and you just beat Detroit on Friday. So you've shown you've done it in Detroit. Why don't you just do it in New York too? There's there's reason to believe that they can turn this around, but at the same time, the Islanders aren't good, and they're your rival. It was a Saturday night. Sam Rosen was there. A lot of Rangers legends were there. It was a centennial, moment type of game, and there's a lot of former alumni there. There's a lot of positive energy in the building, and you turn around and you get dumpstered 5-0 at this. As much as I want to believe that the pattern's going to change and this, that, the other, it was kind of best case scenario for you on Saturday, and you laid an egg again for the fifth time in 7 games, and you scored 1 goal in the sixth game, and you scored 5 in the seventh, and still lost to a team that didn't have any wins at that point and are really bad. Oh, yeah, that's it's not gonna get it done. That'll be my $1 million paycheck now. Thank you.
It's a tough sell right now. I mean, what's the incentive to go to the game? What are you being promised by the Rangers? Oh, we're going to play good defense and that's it. Look, I love good defense. It's an important component of a successful hockey team. But if you're trying to get people in the door, man, it's a tough sell right now. You see where consumer confidence is, where people are with discretionary money. You're asking people in a tight economy to drop $130, $140 per ticket. And then all of the extraneous stuff, whether that's parking, train, whatever, food, drink, whatever you get at the game, you are asking people for a lot right now. And it's great the players identify and recognize that, but to lose the way they have at home in the last 12 months. I mean, I keep going back to that one Kings game last year where it was a Saturday matinee and they lost like 7-0 and that game was over 5 minutes in. You keep popping those every few weeks like they have against Carolina, against the Islanders, people are going to stop showing up. And slowly but surely, it takes time for that to go away. You know, last year towards the end of the year was the first time in a long time on the secondary market tickets were under $100 for a lot of games. That's because people gave up. That's because season ticket holders said, I want something for this. I'll take $75 on this $120 ticket just so I get something because I don't want to waste my time going. And if they continue to play like this, those tickets on the secondary market will continue to trickle in that direction. And if you piss off your season ticket holders, they will stop renewing. If you stop renewing your season ticket holders, you have a problem. Now, the Rangers have unique market advantages because this is such a commercialized area that you can get away with overcharging on corporate things, overcharging on group things. So it becomes a bit more palatable from a business sense. But you look at what this team is right now and what this season was supposed to represent. You know, this was Chris Drury trying to turn the page on the group that he lost confidence in, that the Trouba Gaudreau, Kreider Rangers weren't good enough hockey-wise. They weren't tough enough mentally. They weren't physical enough of players. And by building around guys like Miller, like Trocheck, like Gavrikov, like Noah Laba, that we are going to be a hard-nosed, difficult team to play against. It's great on paper, like I had read that tweet about the Leafs. It's great that you've identified how you would like to play. Do you have the guys to play that way? And more importantly, do you have the guys to play that way successfully? Because you can want to be those things. Those are all good things,
Sure.
to be big, be strong, be physical, be imposing. Those are all good traits to have on a good hockey team. Florida is all of those things. Do you have the guys to make that matter? That's the
Right.
problem. Because
And
those
by
are
the way, all those traits are great and everything. The number one trait is still
goal scoring.
Can you score the goals?
Goals are what define you as a hockey team.
Yeah.
We have seen plenty of teams try and imitate what the Rangers are doing. Carolina has done this for the better part of the last 10 years. The Daryl Sutter Kings and Flames did this really well, And look, I am workshopping this take. It's not fully fleshed out yet, but those Penguins teams that won the cup under Mike Sullivan, they came in towards the end of that style where the Blackhawks and the Kings, and to a lesser extent, I would say the Bruins, where we're playing really good defense. We have a pretty good goalie. We're going to have a lot of possession. Our high-end players are going to finish their dangerous.
Having Letang doesn't hurt.
Having the Hall of Famers helps for sure, but you reach a point where the style requisite with winning has changed to some degree. And Mike Sullivan is implementing good process. Can that process eventually lead to results? In theory, yes. You have some proof of concept based on the way some of the other teams around the league have played, the way some of Mike Sullivan's teams have played. But at the same time, it's also fair to say Mike Sullivan hasn't won a playoff series in 6 years. It's fair to say that maybe where the game is going isn't necessarily the most conducive to how he wants to approach things. And we don't know that definitively yet, but it's not implausible that as those Penguins teams started to change, they started to age out, the roster got a little less talented, Mike Sullivan started to prioritize, okay, I need to focus on the floor. I need to give my best players a chance to win us these games. And even at this point, I would probably take 37, 38-year-old Sidney Crosby over any forward on the Rangers. Yeah. I don't think that's that outlandish of a take. And you get to a point
playing really well, so why wouldn't you?
You get to a point where you have to start thinking about trade-offs. What are you willing to concede on? What are you not willing to concede on? And right now, the Rangers are conceding too much in terms of their offense. And it should come eventually, but at the same time, would you be shocked if Zibanejad finished this year with 43 points and 15 goals? Would you be shocked if JT Miller finished the year with 55 points? Not really. I mean, based on the way the last 2-3 years have gone for those guys, and look, I know Miller's hurt, and that's a bit of a different circumstance, but at the same time, man, if you're going to be hurt all year and you're going to put up a 53-point season as supposedly the best forward on this team, that's not a great look for the general manager who traded you for you, made you the captain, made you the face of the team, no BS. All of that stuff is great, but eventually it becomes about results. Right. Process is great. You can do the right thing over and over and over and over again, but you fuck up one time and that's it. And that's been the way the Rangers have played, is they play really well for good stretches. One blow up, 1 2-on-1, 3-on-2 goes in the net. And from there, the other team's off to the races. It is a really difficult way to live as a hockey team. And short of a mentality change, I don't see an alternative here. There isn't some magical change, whether it's personnel or structure, that's going to actually get the puck to go in the net. Because that's different. That you can't coach. That you can't tactics your way to.
Well, listen, they got Nashville tonight. Again, a team that is real bad. Oh my God, they're so bad. And this is, I don't want to say, I mean, it's so tough to say this on November 10th, but this is really a must-win game. Like, it really, truly is.
Must win or can't lose?
Both. I mean, it's really both. It's more so must win than can't lose, because listen, if you lose 8-7 or something absolutely insane, at least you scored 7 goals, which is more than I could say about if you score 7 goals tonight, you will score more goals in one game than you have in the 7 other ones. So if you're going to score 7 and lose, at least score 7. At least do something. But this is a must-win game. You have to win this game. You have to generate offense. You not only that, but you have to put the puck in the net. You just have to. And I know early on Zibanejad against Islanders hit a crossbar. There were some other chances that missed the net, whatever. It's getting old. It's really getting old to, if it was 1 game, 2 games, you can brush that off as bad luck. This isn't just bad luck anymore. You gotta score goals. Like there's no other thing that can be done at this point. You can't fire the head coach. You can't make a blockbuster trade November 10th. Like it's not possible. You have to go out there as the best players on your team and get it done at MSG. You have to do that tonight. It's Tampa, then it's Columbus, and then on the back-to-back on next Sunday you're playing Detroit at home. And again, you beat them on Friday. That's great. Now, can you do it at home? Would be nice. That's all I'm saying.
They're a very weird hockey team. There's not a lot else to say off of that because there's more than what they've shown so far. But eventually we will reach a tipping point where that potential is wasted, where the capacity for what they could be won't be realized because they haven't made the incremental progress along the way. And to tie a bow on this episode, I think that's what makes the final 20 games or so of last year so frustrating, that if they had fired Laviolette, if they had, given Perreault, Osman, Berard, if they had given those guys run and said, we're going to use these 15 games as an evaluation period, we're going to try and figure out who's going to be on the team next year, who has a role to play, and you go from there. But instead, they flushed those games away, tried to get through them as quickly as possible without any real intention or purpose beyond just playing the games. And now you deal with the consequences of that. And obviously, you couldn't have hired Mike Sullivan in April or March of last year. He was still the Penguins coach. But you could have gotten some answers as far as these younger players and given them an opportunity. And instead, we're sitting here not really sure what this team is, what it's going to be, with not a lot of options in the pipeline as far as saviors, with an extremely depressed market for talent acquisition as far as pro scouting. And maybe you can spark something with Gabe Perreault, but you're staking the entire rebrand of this team on a 21-year-old. I mean, that's a bit much. It's a bit unrealistic to ask the kid, no matter how talented he is, to just jump in and be an impact player. Of course, you hope it happens, but I know this game. I watched them do this with JT.
There's a whole lot of hope here. We've said the word hope like 10 times so far in this episode. There's not a whole lot of action.
No.
Which is the problem. By the way, that's been a whole lot of the Rangers' MO is we have to hope for power plays. We have to hope for big talent to want to come here. We have to hope for, having opportunistic chances to score on man rushes to create our offense. There's a lot of hope going on here. And you're not getting a whole lot of bang for your buck out of that hope. And eventually you got to do something else other than the same exact thing.
It's a real awkward spot to be in because you don't have a lot of chips to play. And I'll tie a bow with this. There is a non-zero chance that we get to January or so, and they're still in this boat. They're average. They win one, they lose one. They win two, they lose two. They can't really string a whole lot together. And Chris Drury tries to sell the 1-year reset. And they trade Panarin and they get an extra first round pick. And then they have 2 1s in next year's draft because they have Carolinas. And they have the one that they kept from themselves. And they feel like, okay, we have assets. We can go out there and we can get someone. And we try and get whatever soon to be restricted free. Maybe you're thinking of Jason Robertson. Maybe you're thinking Owen Power, whatever restricted free agents in the back of your mind. I know Power's on a long-term deal, but there's been rumblings about displeasure about that situation. Whatever young player with upside.
By the way.
Hey, another defenseman would help. I don't feel great about a Carson Soucy, Will Borgen pairing.
No, I don't either, but they do need forwards.
They need everything. They need forwards. They need defensemen. Yes.
But oh my God, they need a forward.
Badly too. And it's not like they need somebody who can score 20 goals. Like there no equivocation. Like it's not exciting, but like at least the Bruins, they knew they were going to suck. They went out and got Arvidsson, who's going to score 15 goals for them. That's not exciting or sexy, but it's more than you're going to get right now from your third line right wing or your third line center. They don't have enough offense. And no matter what you think, whether it's keep Panarin, let Panarin go, he's 35, soon to be 36. Do you really think his late 30s, it's just going to click back on. He's not playing poorly, but he's not nearly as dynamic as he was 2, 3, 4 years ago. And you've lost that dynamism and you just don't have the guys right now. So what's the 1 year reset look like? Okay, we paid Gavrikov a little below market. I'll be fair, but he's going to be 30. Trocheck's over 30. Miller's over 30. Panarin's over 30. Zibanejad's over 30. Lafreniere is 25, turning 26, and doesn't have a whole lot to show. Will Cooley doesn't have a 5-on-5 goal yet this year. What is your sell here? Okay, we're going to implement Gabriel Perreault. Okay, well, how are you making this team significantly better in 8 months between now and the start of next September? And that's where you get to the existential question of what happens if they miss the playoffs again. And it would make sense the general manager doesn't get to try and remake the team a second time, but it's not out of the question. And then the cost assessment of, do I really want to sit here for another 3 years while all of these old guys age out and refuse to be traded because they have ironclad no movement clauses? It's a really awkward situation. And that's not to say you don't do it. You know, if you can kickstart that next wave and you trade Panarin and you ask Trocheck, because he's down to, I think, a 10-team no-move list now. If you start getting the ball rolling and setting yourself up for that next window, right, I won't feel good about it, but at least you acknowledge this isn't good enough.
It's better than nothing, because right now there's a whole lot of nothing and a whole lot of, all right, well, now what type of communication going on, and it's you're just stuck. You're stuck, and to get unstuck, you got to do something drastic here, and something's got to change here soon. Otherwise, there's going to be one of those drastic situations coming down the pipeline.
It is a really weird spot to be in, where they should be better than this. We all acknowledge they should be better than this, but at the same time, what am I waiting exactly to be better? What exactly is my hope proposition here? And it's not a great place to be. You know, you're kind of in the same boat as the Canucks, even though you're a little bit better than them. You're in a similar boat to the Bruins. Those teams that miss their window, man, the sooner you acknowledge you missed it, the better the chance you have of recovering. And right now, the Rangers are still kind of cosplaying that they're in the mix, and it's a rough place to be. But they got Nashville tonight. Yep. It's an opportunity at progress.
Beat Nashville, the Cup parade's back on. How about that?
Beat Nashville, feel good about it. Give everybody a little bit of confidence. Let the guys exhale a little bit. Let the people who paid $110 to come into the Garden on a Monday night, on a work night. I know a lot of people have off tomorrow for the holiday, but people are going to go to the game tonight, and some people are going to have to get up and go to work. So at least give them something. I'm not even saying win the game. Score 3 goals. You lose this game 4-3. Yeah, I'll be a little pissed off. You scored 3 goals. Okay, we made some progress. We're doing something. That's where I would like to be at about 10-15 tonight after the game. Score 3 goals at least, win the game hopefully, and start making me feel like these games aren't just purgatory of we're close, and there's a crossbar, counter, 1-0 other team. Please, for the love of God.
Just score. Please just score.
Score some goals. All right, that'll do it for this week's Liberty Blue. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave the show a 5-star review. Andrew and I will talk to you guys real soon.
Later.